Today I'm going to share with you how I make my magical infused honey. This year I made raspberry infused honey, also with rose and 桂花. And raspberry gives this beautiful color to the infused honey. And I plan to use this as little gifts to give them out to my friends and family members. So presentation is very important when it comes to gift giving. So I decided to make raspberry infused honey. When I make infused honey, I always add some fruit, like besides berries, I always add either apple or pear. It gives more texture to the honey, almost like a gelatin texture to the honey, so gives it a more satisfying look and makes the taste and flavor has more layers. What we call 冰糖, basically translated to ice sugar, which is actually not ice, it's just almost like a rock sugar, right? You can get it from Asian grocery store and online, of course. And I added lime juice and rose to bring it to high heat. Start to melt the sugar and melt the cooked apple, so that I don't add any water in this process. Neither did I add any water in the raspberry sugar seasoning. So I basically trying to use the liquid within the fruits themselves to cook themselves, so it tastes more flavorful, and I try to not water it down. As the heating process continues, you can see that the apple juice is coming out, and ice sugar, rock sugar, start to melt. The dried roses start to liberate the color, right? The color and the smell of rose start to come out and blend in with this delicious smell of heated apple, almost like making apple jam. But when I make apple jam, I usually like to add cinnamon instead of rose. But for the infused honey, I think floral scent would be a more appropriate ingredient. Once the apple rose part is fully cooked, basically the apple's texture become half liquefied, and then I added with the sugar and raspberry combination, because I used frozen raspberry. So when I add sugar directly to it and wait till the raspberry to defrost by itself in room temperature, sort of the sugar and raspberry juice start to bind with each other and created this very beautiful, delicious texture. And then I bring it into electronic stove and keep heating it. It's very similar with making jam, but the quantity is much lower, and because there's no water, so it takes much shorter time than when I make jam. But basically the idea is very similar. And now I'm preparing the other ingredients, which is a traditional Chinese dessert ingredient called 糖桂花 or 桂花米. Basically, is this flour 桂花 and seasoned with honey and sugar. So how do you make it? A very simple way is you combine the 桂花, dried 桂花flowers with honey and sugar, and then you steam it. Because the 桂花 is a completely dried herb, so it does not have any liquid in it. By the time it's done steamed, some of the steam water would end up in the 桂花, and that's the right kind of amount to make it more like a honey syrup texture. During my process of making this batch of infused honey, I put my intention of self-love into the roses, put the blessings of sweetness, joyful life in the sugar, prosperity, and how should I say, 甜蜜, In Chinese, we have a word called 甜蜜, basically means sweet honey. That is the intention, also a word that we describe a happy life, right? So the 甜蜜 from honey, and prosperity from honey also. And also for the 桂花, it is considered as a very noble flower, and it has some mythology with the moon. So in Chinese mythology, there's a tree of 桂花 on the moon, right? So it's always associated with high places, a success, a career advancement, acknowledgement from society. So that's also the intention I'm putting into the infused honey. And of course, before I start the infusing process, I burned some incense and drew some sigil on top and in between the jars, and just let the magic take place and let time does the rest of the work.